If human design has ever felt like weird or icky or cultish to you, and you're a pretty highly sensitive person, and so you're picking up on this, I just want to validate that. And I want to say that you're not alone, you're not crazy. There's actually a reason for that. So, when you first start encountering human design, a lot of the time you're going to see like expensive certifications. You're going to see a white man taking credit for a system that's a synthesis of multiple different cultures. You're going to see kind of some like guru worship and people just having kind of culty vibes about it. And I just want to validate your feelings and acknowledge that that is absolutely the case with mainstream human design. And I also want to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way, and that there's actually a beautiful, there's a beautiful, transformative, transcendent teaching underneath all of this that unfortunately got corrupted by the very person who brought it earthside. So if you've had a toxic mother, you probably can relate to this, but just because you birthed something doesn't mean that you know how it should best exist in the world. And I think that was the case with the human design system. So it came through to this white guy, washed up banker living in Ibiza, partying too much, took something, some sort of drug. He doesn't even know what it was. Nobody knows what it was. And he ended up having this like 8-day, 8-night bad trip, really, just like a really not a good time, in which this voice gave him all of the details of the human design system. And then he came down and sobered up, presumably, or at least mostly, occasionally sobered up, and had to go forth into the world and teach it. And so sometimes I think about like, why him, right? Why was he the one who is the one who brought it earthside? And I think that part of it is because he was crazy enough to carry it out. And there is there's kind of a chicken and egg problem there, because if he had more discernment, he probably wouldn't have, first of all, accepted the random drug from a stranger, or second of all, even ever tried to teach the system that he experienced in this 8-day trip. So they kind of had to, if you're like an interdimensional entity and you've got this information that needs to come earthside, you kind of have to pick somebody who's a little bit out there. But the problem with that, and I think the more you study the lore and you like read a lot of his work and things like that, you'll start to realize that like this man had no spiritual hygiene whatsoever. He had no real like spiritual boundaries. He didn't know how to recognize an entity in his space or discern whether it was actually truly the voice. There are some people who say that he maintained contact with the voice over time, via a crystal or something like that. And this is where I personally think that something else came in and started telling him, I'm the voice, I'm the original voice, trust me, here are the new things you need to add to the system, deliberately in order to pollute the system at the source. So the way human design originally came through, it was an experiment. First of all, there was no prescriptions about it. There was no, this is how you're going to be because you have this design. It was just the structure of the things I've talked about in my other videos, like the planets and gates activating centers, energy flows between centers, definition type, definition mode, things like that. Then later on, 10 years later, that wasn't selling well enough for his ego. And so this other entity came in and said, okay, no, this is now, here's the next layer of it. If you have this center defined and this center defined, then you're this type. And if you don't have this center defined, but you do have this center defined, then you're this type. And on and on and on and on. And like clustering, like not even really things that make sense together, and making this concept of type. And then there's this concept of strategy that got layered onto that was like, okay, if you're this type, then you have to do this strategy. And then you have this authority inside your body, or maybe it's not inside your body, and you have to learn to listen to this one particular center because that's the one that's going to give you your most important messages. And it really became kind of dogmatic and culty at that point. And he excommunicated the students that dared to speak up and to resist this like kind of overbearing, like, this is the way it is, don't question me, I'm the leader. And this is one of the reasons why you actually kind of see, if you look at the people who have been doing human design the longest, they have all gone on to form their own thing and separated from the Jovian archive, which is his legacy, aside from the people that, of course, continue that body of work. And there's so without getting too conspiracy theory about it, there was definitely a pollution that happened from the source, from the original source, the channel, the medium, the messenger, and it has led thousands and thousands of people astray. And if you come into human design, if you're watching my channel, you're probably a highly sensitive person. You may or may not know that you're psychic. You may or may not actually have spiritual hygiene practices and things like that. But if you felt something off about human design when you first encountered it, or as you learn more and more about it, you are so absolutely correct. Like, your intuition is on point, because there is something wrong with it. There is something totally icky about it. But the foundations of it, the bones of the system, are so beautiful and so potent. And that's why I have made it my own personal mission to tell people about this original form of human design, and to let the world know that it doesn't have to be this way, right? You don't have to get cult vibes from it. You can actually take the mechanics of it. You can track your transits. I'm going to keep shouting this from the mountaintops. You can track the transits. You can understand what type of energy you're going to have on any given day. And this is the reason that the system was taken from us. The reason the system was polluted was because it is so potent and it is so valuable, and it's able to help us get our own information and not have to take information from gurus or cult leaders or the government or any type of authority, right? It's a way to get back in tune with our own information and our own energy, our own selves. And it's a way to really integrate all of those parts of ourselves that we have, that may have been lost by the wayside. So that's why I teach human design differently. That's why I don't do type or strategy. I'm all about the original mechanics. I'm all about what was that original pure transmission that came through in this 8-day, bad trip or whatever, because it has some serious power. So if you are interested in learning more, check the links in the description. I have a course that's in beta testing right now. I think there may only be 2 or 3 spots left. I would love to have you in there. If the spots have filled by the time you are watching this, then I will have replaced the link in the description with the link to sign up for the wait list for when it releases to the public. And I also have an exciting new membership that is coming soon, where we will be sharing and comparing and taking this original human design science back to its roots, turning it into an experiment, sharing our findings, and maybe even discovering some new things. So hit the follow button. I would love to see you inside of the course, and please let me know any questions that come up for you in the comments. Thank you.